So now after the PTB, update 7.5.0 has been finalized and we have the patch notes, but the changes they made from the PTB to live are very questionable to say at the least. First, let's start off with the biggest changes, and that's the Onryo changes, and I really feel like Behavior just have no clue what they want for Onryo, because she is constantly getting changed. Part of this is because I feel like she's an extremely unique killer who plays the game entirely differently with Condemned, due to you being able to just spam teleports and stack Condemned as fast as possible. Instead of following a normal chain of pressure by downing survivors, you just spam Condemned the whole time. But Behavior has seen this and made some changes regarding that. On the PTB, it was made so that when you hook a survivor, however many stacks of Condemned they had would permanently stay on them for the rest of the game when they're hooked. This made it much more intense for survivors. They couldn't just sit at 3 to 4 stacks of Condemned the whole time and then only remove it when they're getting close to, popping and having max Condemned. It turned it into an actual tangible threat like Pinhead's Chain Hunt. However, now they made it so you can only get 2 stacks maximum per hook, meaning that at max hooks, you only get 4 stacks. And this change just honestly sucks and makes no sense really. Before, it worked amazingly because it would incentivize going for hooks instead of slugging, because if you hook someone and then teleported to someone on the other side of the map who had been slacking on placing tapes, now they'd be penalized for sitting on gens. And now they would be at 4 stacks, just a few teleports away from being instantly killed. But now that it's only 2 stacks, there's no reason to go for it, as it's not as big of a reward, and considering that at the maximum of 4 stacks they're already on death hook status, you might as well just go hook them and get them out of the game. They did this to try and remedy tunneling, but in all honesty, if a killer wants to tunnel, they will tunnel. It may suck, but it's the truth. Plus, Onryo is already good at tunneling considering she can, become intangible, walk through survivors, and hit the one she wants. So now Onryo players aren't even incentivized to stop slugging because what do they get out of it? 2 maximum stacks? Like, the thing with Onryo is that if she slugs and spams teleports, they know survivors won't really have enough time to make it to TVs while they constantly teleport around them, removing TVs so they can't put the tapes in, and then they could just continue tunneling. Limiting it to only 4 stacks makes it feel so underwhelming now, because the stacking pressure of spreading hooks and Condemned stacks, making it so survivors have 3 to 5 stacks, is much more impactful than, just 2 per hooks. Then we get to the second change of Sadako, where they made it so you can teleport as much as you want, but now there's a 10-second cooldown for your teleport, and if it is actually charged, it will then apply Condemned. So now you can only apply Condemned every 10 seconds, and I really do not get why they did this at all, because they say, oh hey, you know how she was meant to be played, going through TVs as much as possible, actually, use Condemned? Let's limit that again. I don't get why they do this, and I don't think Behavior do either, because that's the way she's meant to be played. Why are they changing this again for no reason? They rework her again to slowly revert everything they changed to make her work like the earlier versions, so what was really the point of reworking her again if they just go, nah, we're gonna undo everything we added? It just seems like a waste of time when many other killers are in dire need of actual reworks and changes, but Onryo gets another one and they roll back everything they just did. Oh, we're finally reworking Sadako now so that she'll play like the best of both versions of her. But actually we're gonna roll back everything we did. We hope you guys still enjoy the changes of, this one new feature. I feel bad for Onryo mains because every time something happens with her, it's reworked in like 3 patches or changed again. She just never catches a break. Every single time someone finds a new way to play her or some dominant strategy, it instantly gets nerfed. It instantly gets changed. So they made Onryo the worst of both worlds. In the first iteration of Onryo, they made it so that you would get Condemned only when you're near an on TV, and she could teleport as much as she'd want. So, it would be reliant on the TVs where the survivors are located, but you could still teleport as much as you want, because, if you teleport around and someone's not near your TV, oh well. But then in the second iteration, they did the inverse of this, where she can teleport on a cooldown every 10 seconds, but everyone would gain Condemned as long as they're not holding a tape. But with this version, they only gain Condemned while they're near a TV, and she has a cooldown on Condemned. So you have the worst version of gaining Condemned and the worst version of the teleport. They just made her horrible in general. The only change they really made is just the 2 stacking Condemned that you get when you get hooked. But you have a worse teleport and a worse way to gain Condemned. Sure, you might be able to say it's better with the whole gaining 1 whole Condemned stack when they're near a TV, because then, if you're holding a tape, you'll still get Condemned. But I'd say, being able to globally give 3 people Condemned no matter where they are is just much better. But now let's get to a killer who, got a slap on the wrist in comparison, the Blight. They just did an add-on pass for the Blight, which was 100% needed, and in the past they gave him really stupidly busted add-ons that would let him turn on a dime or rush infinitely. Now the turn rate add-on has been reduced from 33% per stack, I don't know how anyone ever thought that was fine, down to 11, maxing at 3 stacks. So it's basically just the equivalent of 1 whole stack from back then. But this still seems like a really good add-on for Blights who are beginning because, more turn rate is always good. But for people who already main Blight and have hundreds of hours in him, and they can already hit insane hits on loops, I don't really think this will affect them as much now because, having 99% additional turn rate on your third bounce is insane. But now that's, only going to be 33%. It's more or less whatever. I can see it still being used more than the other turn rate add-ons because it still is a bigger buff. But I mean, considering, double speed or running any of his other add-ons might just be better. Who knows? Then we get to another one of his busted add-ons, the Iridescent Blight tag, which got nerfed to not be stupidly overpowered anymore. Before, it used to work that your power would only go on cooldown if you hit a survivor, meaning that you could keep bumping around, breaking pallets, whiffing your hits, etc. as much as possible until you hit a survivor, and then it would go on a cooldown. But now that has been changed. Now it's basically you can keep going as long as you are moving. So if you miss an attack, or you don't bounce, or you break an object, it will put you into that 20-second long cooldown. Now you'll actually have to be careful and land your hits, and this makes the add-on feel a lot better and makes way more sense than before. But now that has been changed. Now it's basically you can keep going as long as you keep moving, as if you miss an attack, don't bounce off of an object, or break something like a wall or a pallet, it will put you into that 20-second cooldown. Now that you'll actually have to be careful to land your hits with this add-on, it feels a lot better and makes way more sense than before. I don't know if these add-ons will be good or not, considering I feel like with even minimal practice with Blight, you'll be able to land most hits and loops without these sort of add-ons. Then we get to what I was fearing the most, and that's the Hillbilly changes. Knowing how Behavior has a love-hate relationship with him, this could go either two ways. They either butcher him again, making overheat mode practically useless and not that strong anymore, or they leave it as is, and Billy mains can finally play the game after like 2 years. And luckily, they go with the latter. All that happened with Billy is they just changed some of his add-ons around for the better. They made it so his chainsaw recovery add-ons got a slight nerf so that they would recover faster both on hit and when you miss, but I saw some people saying it already worked like that, so they're just slightly bringing it down. Then they make it so that both of his add-ons that reduce the heat decay are even better. Both the ones that make it reduce slower when not in use and when you first get it. So overall, huge buffs for Billy that make him feel so much better. I really am amazed that they finally brought Billy back to being good after like 2 years and that they didn't dramatically reduce his overheat's effectiveness, because watching how fast Billy goes while he's overheated makes it look insane. Like he can cross map blink in 2 seconds. He goes so fast, I'm surprised they didn't tweak it at all. So with the killer changes out of the way, we have 2 perk changes, the first one being Save the Best for Last, which got a quote-unquote nerf, in heavy quotes, from 40% at max down to 32, and made it so that whenever a survivor loses a health state by any means, you would lose 2 stacks. But in this update, they made it so that the killer must specifically hit the survivor in order for them to lose stacks, so stuff like Plot Twist or Deep Wounds won't make you lose tons more stacks. But a quick tangent real quick. Why do they recognize that Plot Twist can mess with stuff like Save the Best for Last and make you lose more stacks than intended, but still haven't fixed how it works with Corrupt Intervention? They know that survivors downing themselves counts as a health state, yet you can still instantly down yourself with Plot Twist to disable Corrupt Intervention early, and that's fine? I mean, you'd think if they fix it for one, they'd fix it for the other, but whatever. I don't know if this is actually still, a thing in the game. I think it is. I don't remember it being mentioned anywhere, so I'm assuming it's still like this, but if it's been changed, my mistake. Then Quick Gambit gets a buff. Instead of it being just a number tweak with some numbers moving around, it used to be that it had a bigger range but less bonus to gen repair speed. However, now we'll get both the range and the buff amount, so it's better now. Is this perk actually good now? Probably not. Then they mentioned they have a watch list of just some things they're going to be watching and looking at closely. First off is Grim Embrace and Dead Man Switch, making it so basically whenever you hook someone, all generators are blocked for about 30 seconds. Because Grim Embrace blocks all generators, then Dead Man Switch activates when that effect ends, and yeah, this combo is way too overpowered. I feel like with Grim Embrace, we're gonna enter a gen blocking meta now. Before it was Ruin Undying, or Ruin Pop, Gen Kick meta, etc., and now we might have a gen block meta. Easiest solution to this is just make it so that effects can't overlap. Just make it so that, survivors would need to touch the gens before Dead Man Switch can activate. And then considering how gen kicking won't really be a thing anymore, I feel like just, straight up blocking generators will become the new thing. Then they say they're going to be watching Hillbilly and Onryo, but I feel like Billy changes were fine as is. He's still one of the hardest killers to master and use, so I don't think he'll really need any changes at all. He's, finally playable again. He was never an issue in early Dead by Daylight when survivors were, god tier and had instant loops where they could teleport through pallets and shit, and now that the game's more balanced, I feel like Hillbilly will still be fine. He doesn't need any changes at all. Onryo on the other hand, dog shit. They need to revert the changes. It is so bad. Then they mentioned the generator kicking change again, saying it probably won't impact regular matches, and they're probably right. I mean, considering they added the anti-camp mechanic, and that's never genuinely affected me. I've never had an issue with that. Now, for most of these changes, I can't really give my own personal take on how they felt on the PTB because I was sick at the time, and queue times are, queue times for the PTB, so I can't really test the Onryo or Billy changes. Overall, I love the Billy changes because, he's finally playable and good again. There's a reason to use his saw, and it looks really stupid. It looks really fun when he's in overheat and he teleports around, and he has blue fire, and everyone knows objectively blue fire is cool. Blight still is fine, Onryo's gutted and dog shit tier, and Save the Best for Last is still fine. I really hope that they fix Onryo and just stop trying to change her. There are so many killers who are in desperate, dire need of changes, but Onryo gets reworked again just for them to roll back everything and make her in the worst state she's ever been, effectively just going back in time to before she ever needed anything. Just for one change, all we got was the maximum stack change. That's it, or the minimum change, whatever, you know what I mean, with the condemned. Then, while Blight definitely needed an add-on pass, so many other killers need one so bad, like Myers, Nemesis, and Pyramid Head. Like, these killers are in desperate need of changes. And I mean, yeah, Blight needed one. He had Alchemist Ring. He had a bunch of his compounds and Adrenaline Vial. Oh yeah, they changed Adrenaline Vial again. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, it's still one of his best add-ons. So overall, a very good patch for Hillbilly mains, but really bad for everything else. They just really dropped the ball. And then sorry for no uploads, a mix of sick and personal stuff left me burnt out and not motivated, so I'm trying to start again. And then I was working on a video while I'm sick, I record everything and I get it set up, and then right as I'm working on it, middle of the fucking video, they released the first PTB notes, and they totally didn't mention everything I was talking about. So I mean, in one hand, it sucks that I basically did a video for nothing, but on the other hand, I wanted to see these things change and I got what I wished for, so monkey's paw. But with that, take care of yourselves and have a damn good one. Peace.